Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. My name is Ardian al-Mahdi.
I'm Hussain al-Mahdi.
And I'm Jamil al-Ahmadi.
So today we're opening up a new chapter, a new door in the Goal of the Wise, which is door number 9, in which we talk about reincarnation. Now, if you don't have the book and if you want to follow along with us, we can pop up the QR code on the screen. So this way you'll be able to read the Goal of the Wise for yourself. The Goal of the Wise is available in Arabic, English, in German, French, Spanish, and many other languages on our site, and many more to hopefully come in the future, inshallah. So to start off with reincarnation, let us first hear the words of al-Sadiq, from him is peace, in the video clip that we're about to play, explaining reincarnation and explaining what reincarnation is according to the Ahlul Bayt. From them is peace.
Imam Jaafar al-Sadiq, from him is peace, said, "Whoever does not believe in our return is not from us." The return, or the raja, is a concept mentioned in the narrations of the family of Muhammad, from them is peace, which describes the return, or reincarnation, of the souls of people back to the world. The Imams, from them is peace, have stated on many occasions that when the Qa'im, riser, appears, the believer in his grave will be told, "Oh, so and so, your companion has appeared. If you want, you may join him, and if you wish to remain here in the honor of your Lord, then you may remain." So here, the dead are given the chance to return to the world in the time of the Qa'im, riser. And how else could the dead return to the living without being born again? Imam al-Ridha, from him is peace, was asked by al-Mamun about the Raja. He replied, "Verily it is truth, and it also existed in the previous nations, and the Quran spoke about it, and the Prophet of Allah, peace be upon him and his family, said, 'There shall be in this nation everything that was in the previous nations.'" Imam al-Baqir, from him is peace, said, "It has been ordained against every town that we ever destroyed that they shall not return to enjoy a new lease of life." Surah 2195. Every town which God destroys by bringing upon it a punishment shall not return. And this verse is one of the greatest proofs for the Raja, return, because no one from the people of Islam denies that all people return on the day of judgment, Qiyamah, including all those who were destroyed by a punishment and those who weren't. So when God says, "shall not return," it means in the Raja, but as for the Qiyamah, they shall return in order to enter hellfire. Imam al-Baqir, from him is peace, said, "Verily, the Prophet of Allah and Ali, peace be upon them, shall return." Imam Zayn al-Abidin, from him is peace, said, "Verily, he who has given you the Quran will surely bring you back at an appointed time." Surah 28:85. Your Prophet and the Prince of the believers and the Imams shall return to you. And Imam al-Sadiq, from him is peace, said, "The first to emerge from the earth and return to the world is al-Hussain ibn Ali, peace be upon them." The Ahlul Bayt, from them is peace, have mentioned some of the prophets and messengers and companions by name in various traditions as ones who will return in the time of the Qa'im, riser. From those names are the 7 sleepers: Joshua son of Nun, al-Miqdad, Malik al-Ashtar, Salman al-Farisi, Abu Dujan al-Ansari, al-Mufaddal ibn Umar, and many others. These are just a few from a plethora of narrations from Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, mentioning the concept of the return, or the Raja.
Okay, that's amazing. And by the way, as you've all noticed, our brother Jamil right now is not here. There was some technical issues, but hopefully Jamil will be able to join us again in the next episode. Anyway, without further ado, we will be talking about reincarnation And it's a massive topic, and it's a topic that I think causes a lot of controversy around this call, because many people who look at this call, they believe reincarnation to be heretical. They believe that reincarnation is for the people of the kuffar, the disbelievers. They believe that reincarnation is a pagan belief. They believe that reincarnation is a belief that takes you out of the fold of Islam. However, we find within Islam, within Shia Islam, the Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet themselves, who the Prophet said, he said, hold on to the two weighty things. Hold on to both of them and you will never go astray. They are the Book of Allah and my ihtrati, my Ahlul Bayt, the people of my household, my family. Why? Because it is the family who are able to explain the true beliefs of God. They're the ones to interpret the munkar and the mutashabih, which is the clear and the unclear allegorical verses of the Quran. So without them, we'll be astray. And that is why the world of the Muslims now, they're split up into multiple sects. They're split up into multiple sects, with one sect being Sunni Islam, with many branches that split and become multiple sects. Even the Shias are split up into multiple sects. Sufis as well, there are many Sufi orders, and etc., etc. We have an Islam that is split into many branches and sects, all claiming to be the true saved sect, and everyone else is wrong or perishable. So when it comes now to the religion of Allah, when it comes now to the religion of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, what do we find? We find reincarnation being talked about here in the form of what is now called the raja, the return. And according to them, the return is the return of these beings, the prophets, the messengers, the righteous believers who had died in the past.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the issues that we have, which is the sectarian divide of these religions that actually lost between each other, and in the history, in the pages of history, they've lost quite a lot of what knowledge that has been given to us by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and by Jesus alayhi salatu wasalam, by Moses alayhi salatu wasalam. They've lost quite a lot of knowledge, right? So when we talk about reincarnation, we want you to give us the chance, yes, like give us a 5% chance that we might be right, and if we are right, then again you would have learned something, you would have gained something. And if we're wrong, you can call us at any time and we will be able to converse with you. You can contact us on our website if you'd like, and we'll call you directly, or you can call us on this channel today. So the idea is very clear, that we are going to discuss one of the most important topics to ever be discussed, which is one of the great matters. In fact, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam said the raj'a, or the return, or the resurrection, is one of the great things, great matters that you can ask the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam about it, and he will answer you, and it would be enough proof. You see, so it's like, it's that magnitude where the itra, who is the crown of the crown of the family of Muhammad. You know, it's not just everyone from the family. It is actually a very specific crown. Where it says itra, it is as Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam explained in one of the episodes. The itra means the crown, right? Like it's a crown that you have to wear. So the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam have left us with a lot of narrations that talks about the raj'a, the return, the reincarnation. So in a way, we discuss the matter of reincarnation in a very esoteric way, and at the same time, we'll give you all the evidence for it, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. And you know, al-Sadiq obviously does not speak from his own self. He is someone who speaks from the command of God. He speaks from what has been revealed to him from Imam Ahmad al-Hassan, from him his peace, what has been revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everything that he says is backed up. You know, when he talked to us about reincarnation, it wasn't just an in-your-face reincarnation is true. It was also a learning process for us. He brought out many narrations, as we had just brought up on the screen. Yeah, exactly. How the Ahlul Bayt said, those who do not believe in our return, they are not from us. Meaning that you cannot be a believer, according to them. You can't be a believer unless you believe in their return, and you believe that they will reincarnate or return back into this world. And you know, many of the Shia, many of those who cater to this belief of the Raja, from the Shias. Why do they do so? Because when they read the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt, they find that this whole attitude about the raja, about the return of the Imams, is a plethora of narrations. It is a mutawatir matter. It is a matter which is frequently narrated. It's not just one Imam like Imam Ali, but it's Imam Jaafar al-Sadiq, Imam al-Rida. Many of the Imams talked about the raja.
Right.
Imam al-Sadiq salam speaks about it extensively, especially in this book, which we actually have on our website, which was translated by the Qa'im of the family Muhammad. It is a very famous book amongst small circles of the Shias, but then exploded in our time due to Abdullah Hashim Abu Sadiq having first translated it. And it is the book called Al-Haft al-Sharif. You can download the book on our website, and in it the Imam speaks exclusively, really, about reincarnation into human form, animal form, and what have you. And if we pull up the next slide on the screen, I just wanted to make a point about the last thing that Abu Sadiq had mentioned in the book, which is this narration that says, Imam al-Sadiq, from him his peace, said, the Qa'im will come forth from the back of Kufa with 27 persons, right? But he gives a title about these 27 persons. He explains who they are. He says, 15 from them are from the people of Moses, who guided to the truth and acted according to justice. 7 are from the people of the cave, and Joshua the son of Nun, and Salman, and Abu Dajjana Ansari, and Al-Miqdad, and Malik al-Ashtar are present too, who will become Ansars and rulers between the hands of the Qa'im. So, wow, we see over here clearly that the dead are basically raised back to life. We have Imam Hussain alayhi salam coming back. We have the Ahlul Bayt coming back. But unfortunately, Hussam, and you come from a Shia background. You come from a Shia family. You come from the Hakimi tribe.
Yes,
and I'm pretty sure you've heard about this concept of the Imams coming back. And the way that the Shias understand it is quite different from how we're explaining it. Would you care to explain it?
Absolutely. The idea in the Shia sect of Islam, there is, of course, as there is in all sectarian divides, there's always disagreements between these mashayikh, these ayatullah, and so on and so forth, about the interpretation of what the raj'a is, or how is it going to be. So the majority of the Shia sect today, they believe that the incarnation is going to happen only to very few, the children of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam. Even though they have narrations actually that says that a lot of people, everybody, in fact, the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam says, everyone who reached the peak of faith and everyone who reaches the peak of disbelief will return in the time of the Qa'im, in the time of the Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. So the reincarnation is not only for the believers, in fact it's also for the disbelievers. That's for one. But what do they interpret raj'a as, return as? They interpret it like this, because they have narrations that says, for example, the first one who returns is Imam al-Hussain. Yes? So what do they say? They say that means that all the eyes are on the Hussain Maqad right now, on the shrine of Imam al-Hussain. That shrine is going to break, and the ground is going to open, and Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, from his body is going to move up. And in fact, if you ask them, hey, but isn't the head of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam buried in a different place? They say, in fact, no, that is not the case, because we have angels that actually took the head. An angel that took the head of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and returned it back to its place. Okay. So that's what they would say. So therefore, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is the grave is going to open, and he's going to come out, and he's the first, they say, he is the first to come out of the ground, because the narration says he is the first to shake away the dust from his hair, from his head. So they interpret this literally. They take it as a literal event where, imagine if everybody who is a believer and everybody who's a disbeliever returns, then you'll have lots of graveyards who are actually start to open it up. Yeah, this is the scene that they want to say and they believe in. It's like a scene of the graveyards all opening up, and suddenly the Sahaba at that time, they would come out with their white robe, which is eaten, but it's a miracle. So they will come out with a white robe. Obviously, they're not going to be naked, right? So what's going to happen is that they're going to have a sword, and they're going to carry that sword, and they're going to fight. They're going to fight the enemies with swords.
So basically, a bunch of decomposed zombies would come out.
Yeah, they would resurrect. Obviously, they would say that God is capable of all things.
Okay,
so he will resurrect them, because what do you say? God doesn't do that? You know, he can't.
Yeah, they would say that.
Obviously, he can. Obviously, he's done before sometimes. You know, where he resurrected certain people from the dead in the manner similar. But the idea is then who decides actually what's the way of resurrection? Is it that the scholars who come and decide for us how the resurrection is going to occur, or the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wasalam should decide for us how it's going to occur? I think that's really that's just one sect of Shia Islam. The other sects of Shia Islam, they say the words of the Ahlul Bayt carry many different meanings. You know, like Ahlul Bayt said, our words carry multiple deep meanings. Like where to the matter of fact is when they talk about the stars, they could be talking about the Shia. You know, like, so as we discussed earlier in the earlier episodes, which the people don't actually believe, Shias don't actually believe that the stars are believers, right?
Believers, yeah.
So to them, it's like when the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wasalam talk about the stars, they could mean the Shia, just for a metaphorical sense, just in a metaphor.
Okay, so they interpreted other than what is actually written, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So then they would take certain, so you can see that they're quite cherry picking in their belief systems, because what they do is that they take certain narrations literally and other narrations metaphorically, without really a good valid reason or a good excuse, or at least the admission of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wasalam to those interpretations. So when you're talking about the resurrection, that's some of the Shias, and some of the Shias have, very few actually, have the concept of the souls actually returning back to a different body. But these are like so few. I've spoken to maybe one or two who were reluctant, but they had to accept this kind of concept at some point. But the majority of the Shia out there, they believe the resurrection is a literal event where the graves are going to open and the people are going to come out. And the first to come out is Imam Hussain.
Yeah, no, there are hadiths that talk about the return of Imam Hussain, that he is the first one that comes out. But what's very strange and what's funny is that although they'll say that, you know, the Shias, Imam Hussein's head is with him, well, the other 72 companions, there's actually photographs of a tomb that actually displays the other heads of the other companions. So then, I mean, do they believe that these companions also raised back up?
So that's a problem that we have to ask a Shia about, because they will never know how to answer that. This is when you ask questions like this, brothers and sisters, that's when you see the brother who's in front of you on the mic or in the phone call, they'll twist and turn until they run away, or they'll be intelligent enough to actually sit and go like, that's interesting thought. You know, like maybe that's not how resurrections happen. Yeah,
otherwise then we're talking about a bunch of headless individuals who are now scavenging around looking for where their head is.
Then again, I could already hear them kind of make the excuse of saying that it's a miracle, therefore God will make it disappear and come out, or something like that.
Or their head grows back.
Grow a new head for them. That's not a problem. It's a miracle. Once it's a miracle, it's a miracle. The only difference between us is should I accept your interpretation of this? You know,
because here's the thing, right? It's like I could give the excuse that maybe it could be a miracle. But then here's the problem. The problem is that there are hadiths that talk about that when Imam Hussain comes back, he succeeds Imam al-Mahdi, right? It says that he is somehow the successor of Imam al-Mahdi, that he lives on after the death of Imam al-Mahdi, the 12th Imam. And it says that the death will not come to the 12th Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, according to the Shias, until the people, the believers, are 100% certain that Imam al-Hussain is not a shaitan, nor is he a Dajjal. But that's the thing. Why would the Shias, if you see that the grandson of the Prophet broke out of his own grave, like the earth split open, and then he came out of his grave, dusting the dirt off of his head,
with cameras taking shots of him.
With cameras taking shot of him, like the whole world, all of these guys who go, and there's tons of people, by the way, in Karbala. Every day there are people in Karbala
everybody with
doing
cameras
ziyarah.
taking selfies,
Exactly. So this would be a compelling miracle. Why would anybody think to themselves that this corpse that is now animated again, that is al-Hussain, from him is peace, why would anyone think that this is a shaitan or a dajjal? Unless the people think that this individual is a shaitan or a dajjal because he did not pop out of the grave. Rather, he is in a new body claiming to be Imam al-Hussain, and the people are like, how can you be Imam al-Hussain? Imam al-Hussain is buried in Karbala. I mean, that would make more sense, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they will, and that's the problem. Is like, as you said, what would make them doubt seeing the footage of a man coming out of the grave, from the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, having those narrations? So who exactly is doubting here? It's like, of course, it's talking about the believers, right? The believers in Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam who would believe this thing. So then, because if you're telling me, for example, the Sunnis are going to be the ones who are doubting, yeah, I mean, the Sunnis don't, to begin with, they would say that that's Dajjal. The Dajjal in the Sunni Islam, he resurrects the dead. So they will have this excuse. They'll say, hey, that's the Dajjal. We have science saying that the Dajjal for us actually resurrects dead people. He had the ability to resurrect somebody, right? So then they might excuse themselves with this kind of excuse. And even if you explain to them left and right, you know that they won't like actually believe it. The fear that's going to come into the heart of someone is enough to make them kind of doubt. So once that doubt sets in, it's over. So the idea is this, is that we are saying, even if you guys say that this Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam's resurrection is going to come out of this, where is your proof for that? Because you saying something does not actually dictate that it's a fact. Just because your Sheikh or Ayatollah al-Udma Fulan, Ayatollah al-Udma Sistani, Khomeini, Khamenei, you name them, they are tons of great signs of God that has not benefited the world in how they should be benefiting the world if they were actually grand signs, you know, from God.
That's true.
And can you imagine the grand sign of Iraq is Sistani, who has literally direct connections to the Iraqi government, and Khomeini, who has literally direct connections and powers that are so much powers, and yet the entirety of this peninsula that they live inside and around is completely chaotic. I mean, that makes no sense. That shows to the proof that they're not trustworthy sources. And if they're not trustworthy sources, please convince us. Why should we take their literal interpretation about this one and at the same time accept their metaphorical explanation somewhere else? Who gave them the right to make something literal and something else metaphorical?
Exactly. You know? And that's something that the people have to be aware, that this is not what we're doing at all. Everything that we have explained is something explained by the Ahlul Bayt themselves, and not something that we figured out. Everything that we are displaying here, everything that we speak of, everything that we have brought forward to you is something from the Ahlul Bayt, and the interpretations of what the Ahlul Bayt are talking about is interpreted by someone from Ahlul Bayt, which is the Qa'im, the Mahdi, the promised Savior from the family Muhammad, from him is peace. Abdullah Hashim al-Sadiq, from him is peace. And you know, one problem I think that the world has with this concept of reincarnation, well, not the world, but at least those of the Abrahamic faiths like the Muslims, is that reincarnation for them, yeah, like I said earlier, it's a disbelieving concept. Why? Because they believe that it comes from a pagan, polytheistic, and people who basically worship idols, basically. They'll say that, oh, but it's a Buddhist, and it's the Hindus who believe in reincarnation. This is a Hindu belief, right? And they'll say, oh, this is all Indian, right?
Let's go to straight up polytheists.
Yeah, but like, do you know what the main problem is? It's not just Indian, and it's not just Buddhist. And we can actually pull up the quote from Buddha that our brother Jamil was very happy to show you guys, but we can show it to you now, where it says, "Through many births I have wandered on, seeking but not finding. The builder of this house, sorrowful indeed, is repeated with birth." So we have over here, okay, Buddha speaking about reincarnation, and in the next slide from Plato, we also see Plato quoting his master Socrates concerning reincarnation, where he says, "I am confident in the belief that there truly is such a thing as living again, and that the living spring from the dead, and that the souls of the dead are in existence, and that the good souls have a better portion than the evil, And he also says, those who have indulged in gluttony and violence and drunkenness and have taken no pains to avoid them are likely to pass into the bodies of asses, meaning donkeys, and other beasts of that sort. So we see here that it's not just an Indian thing, like in the Indian subcontinent, like with Buddha, but it's also in Western philosophy. We have Socrates, who is the teacher of Plato, who is also the teacher of Aristotle, who we explained were prophets before, who we even talked about in the previous episode, was against idol worship, who is basically a monotheist, saying that he believes reincarnation to be true. So, and by the way, there's many other religions and cultures out there that believe in reincarnation. Actually, most religions out there believe in reincarnation. People in Japan, people in China, India, the Zoroastrians, the Manichaeans, the early Christians, the Jews, the Gnostic Muslims, the pagan worshippers in Europe, such as the Greeks, the Romans, the Norse, even the people as far west in the Americas, they also believed in reincarnation, and African religions themselves believe in reincarnation. So now it's a matter of, well, if all of these people unanimously have agreed that there was a flood that took place, that we are living in a time where there is evil, or that there is one God, if all of them have this conclusion, then why is it that the Muslims
are the only ones
throw away reincarnation?
Yeah, and that's very strange, because the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, in fact, I mean, when you're talking about the Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, multiple times throughout multiple narrations, in fact, they told us exactly how the reincarnation is going to happen. Because they told us, for example, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, in the battles, when he used to be in the battlefield, some of the Sahaba would fight against him. They would challenge each other. So they would say, I'm going to take down more enemies than Imam Ali. Yeah, today I'm going to take down more enemies. They see him as the best warrior, right? And the best, most amazing man on the earth. So what do? You take him as a challenge to a degree. So they took him as a challenge. They went out and they started to fight, and they counted their numbers. And one of them comes to the Imam and he says, Ali, I did more than you today, in this battle today. So the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam tells him, you did it randomly. You took down the enemies randomly. Everybody I took down, I knew there was not in the future going to come out of him a believer. How did he know that? We know, in fact, the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt tell us how he knew, because the Ahlul Bayt told us that the spirits or the souls of the believers are moving inside of the loins of the men and inside of the women's wombs. So how does this? They're telling us straight up that it is something through incarnation, through bodies, for example. Like they're telling you, it's at least through bodies, right? At least minimum, that the souls are transported through bodies, or the lights are transported through bodies of some certain kinds. So the يخرج الميت من الحي, it takes out the living from the dead. To a certain degree, some of the mashayikh of the Shias, they interpret it this way too. So then why do we ignore the Ahlul Bayt, who told us that the reincarnation in a way can happen through a physical lineage, and it can happen also through a spiritual lineage, where a soul can descend and enter into a body, and the soul can come out and go out.
And what the people don't understand is and I think the people need to review the Quran again, because many will say that, there's no evidence of reincarnation in the Quran, and actually it's a kufr belief. But the thing is that the Quran never states that reincarnation is a kufr belief. And actually, if you read the Quran without paying attention to what the scholars have interpreted for you of the verses, you'll actually find that reincarnation makes a lot of sense in the Quran. I'll give you an example. How it says in the Quran that many of the people, they would say, how are we to come back when we have become ashes, or when we have become bones? Verily, this is something that does not seem possible, right? But God says that, no, this is disbelief. Disbelief is to say that you cannot come back. Disbelief is to say that you will not return.
Yeah, the one who brought you the first time is capable of bringing you back again.
Exactly. And the Muslims are saying hey, astaghfirullah, that people are saying that reincarnation is true. I mean, are you limiting the capabilities of God? You're saying that God is able to bring you back all flesh and all blood and resurrect you in the same body by reassembling you.
Yeah.
Well, if that's possible, which we believe for sure that can be possible too, is it not also possible that God can bring you back by inserting you in a new body? I mean, what's the harm in that? How is that disbelief? Actually, that is belief that God is capable of anything and everything.
For sure.
So how is that disbelief? Verily, actually, it's disbelief to say that God is incapable of bringing you back in a new body.
And I think just why do they say that, Shia specifically? Because Sunnis, we have to talk to you about the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say, be stones or iron or whatever that is in your heart, in your chest. So what does that mean? I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says something be, what does it do? What happens to it? It has to become. But we find in the Quran those people who were told that there is a continuation of a discussion, and they went away and they lived their lives. So Allah told them, be stones, be iron, be whatever that's big in your chest. But then they continue to live. So did Allah lie? Or did Allah just say things for no reason? Astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah from such saying. This is from the Sunni sect. We have lots of evidence from the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrects people, and it's in fact injustice from Him not to resurrect people because He's resurrected other people before. So why would He resurrect them and give them second chances and even evidence for this while you only live once or I live only once? That's one thing that you have to fix as a Sunni. As a Shia, they say to us that the Imams alayhi salatu wassalam are the ones who said, Kafir is the one who, a disbeliever is the one who accepts reincarnation. So we say, can you bring us the hadith? Because the hadith that says the takfir of the reincarnation, in fact, is talking about the reincarnation by the understanding of the, say, mostly Hindus. Why? Because they say forever and ever, a spirit can resurrect forever and ever. Like literally for as long as ever, you will be reincarnating. Therefore, there is no need for hell. There is no need for heaven. In fact, the narration specifically defines that those who say in reincarnation at that time, who the Imams were asked about, they believe space is empty. They believe there is no hell in heaven.
Yes.
They believe there is no judgment day. They believe there is nothing else other than you keep reincarnating here or you can escape. You know, the cycle of death and life.
Yes.
So we do not believe in such a reincarnation.
And actually, this concept, by the way, is mentioned in Iyun Akhbar, right?
Yeah.
Where Imam Rida, he's speaking to Al-Ma'mun, which we just pulled up. We pulled up the slide where Imam Rida is speaking to Al-Ma'mun about the Raja and says that the Raja is true. But in this other hadith, he asks him specifically, because Al-Ma'mun, by the way, you have to keep in mind, Al-Ma'mun was what? He was a tyrant. Al-Ma'mun, by the way, was the one who ends up killing Imam Rida anyway. And Imam Rida alayhi salam also was aware of the fact that Al-Ma'mun wanted to kill him and wanted to find a way how to discredit him in front of the Shia. And by the way, not all of the Shias were aware of reincarnation. And it happened many of the times when we talked about this in the beginning of the show, how in the prior episodes, how taqiyya is the religion of the Ahlul Bayt, that they had to conceal much of the truth from the people. So Al-Ma'mun asks Imam Rida, from him is peace, is reincarnation true? And then he says, no, reincarnation is not true because it negates heaven and hell, right? Just as you said, any belief of reincarnation that disregards paradise and hellfire is not true. So the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, Imam Rida minhu salam, did not lie when he said that reincarnation is not true if it means that you believe that heaven and hell are non-existent.
Don't need to be.
But we, as the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, and as the Ahlul Bayt have described, we believe in reincarnation, and we believe that after your reincarnations, you're either rewarded with paradise or you are in eternal damnation or in hellfire.
Absolutely.
So actually, no, we do not negate heaven and hell. Therefore, this hadith does not apply to us, which is very important.
Exactly. And I think one of the evidence we can use for that to say that reincarnation that we believe in is a belief system that came to us from the Ahlul Bayt, is if you read the Hafta Sharif. Read the Hafta Sharif, the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam sets a specific time or number for if exactly how much is that number, we're not sure. We have to double check with al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, see how many reincarnations does somebody need. There is a maximum There is a maximum potential. Once that maximum potential limit of how many incarnations you have is set, that's it. Judgment day happens for that person, for that spirit. Now, this is the last. This is where all the, as in the Quran, it says, all of your mawazin, all of your weight scales come into play, and then the judgment happens, and then you either end up to hellfire or in heaven. Yeah, so this is what we believe in. In fact, it is a specific number of time that you have. You don't have an infinite amount of times to reincarnate. You do go back in the end. You have to go to heaven or hell. You either reach a peak of faith or reach a peak of disbelief, and you go to either side.
Yeah, it's either one. And you know what's funny is, and you could correct me if I am wrong, but there is this narration. I mean, this verse that I find in the Holy Quran. Which is in Surah al-Baqarah, right? It's near the beginning of Surah al-Baqarah, around the 20s, right? Where it mentions, and how can you disbelieve in your Lord? How can you disbelieve in God when you were dead? When you were dead, and then God gave you life. Then He caused you to die again, then He will bring you back to life, and then to Him you will return.
Yes.
So, I mean, we can see here, because like, if God wanted to be clear, by the way, guys, if God wanted to be clear, we have to make this very clear. God is clear, right? God, if He were to have said, "How can you disbelieve in me if like you were non-existence, and then I gave you existence, then you will die, then I will bring you back to life, and then you will return to me," then this fits the narrative of what Muslims are saying, that you only live once, you come back to life once, and then you're going to go to heaven or hellfire. But the verse is saying that you were dead, you were not alive, and the only way for you to be dead is if at one point you were alive. So then He says, how can you disbelieve in God when you were dead and then He brought you to life? Then you died and then He brought you back to life again, and to Him you shall return. Is this not the case, Hussam?
Yeah, I mean, the idea, the word death is there. And so it's a very simple concept. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just said, if you had, before you didn't exist. He could have said that.
He could have.
When you didn't exist, and then I made you, then I made you, and then I made you die, then I bring you again. So it just doesn't make any sense, because He's saying you were dead, and dead implies that you used to be alive before. And by the way, this is what they believe in, they just don't know it yet, because remember that the Muslims actually believe that we were alive before, when God subhanahu wa ta'ala took the oath over us and He says, "Who am I not your Lord?" And they said, "Yes, you are our Lord." So they do have that in the Quran. In fact, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took us out of the back of Adam, and they have that story, where we were alive. So the idea is just, now it's a problem you run into, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you only live twice, guys, if you only live twice, yes, you were alive back then somehow He killed you, somehow you don't know, and then you came back to life again, and then somehow you die again, and somehow you get resurrected again.
Isn't that
that's like 3 lives minimum, Plus add to that the people who were resurrected in this life while we were alive today, like the people who Jesus resurrected, for example. How many of them do you know? Because in the Quran it says many people. It doesn't say just one person. It says actually, وَيُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, and He resurrects the dead by the permission of God. So now these guys are there. These guys have more than these 2 incarnations, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So now you're breaking your own law. If you're saying you only live one time, well, these guys lived 4 times. Minimum 3-4 times.
No, for sure.
So how just is that from God? Yes, it's like that He gives them 4 times resurrection, He gives you 1. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, true. And also, one thing that I do want to bring up, because, probably our audience maybe are not just only Muslims. I'm pretty sure Christians are also watching this show too. And I do want to bring up one story, because many Christians will probably say that they don't believe in reincarnation. They believe this to be a heretical belief. Well, little do you know, actually, that Judaism, which Jesus used to be a part of, the prophets of the Old Testament were Jews. And people who adhere to Judaism today actually believe in reincarnation, and they use the Torah to defend that being the case. And they interpret the verses concerning reincarnation and taking it and extracting it from the Old Testament. And there are many rabbinic scriptures talking about reincarnation. But then where does that lead us with Christianity? Well, the first thing that we need to pay attention to is the fact that Prophet Malachi from him, peace be upon him, actually talked about in the Old Testament concerning the coming back of Prophet Elijah. Prophet Elijah was an Old Testament prophet in 2 Kings in the Bible who ascended to heaven, and Elisha witnessed that Elisha was raised to heaven, flesh and blood, right? Not by spirit, but by flesh and blood. And they said that, and the Jews, they understood that Elijah was going to come back. And when he comes back, he'll be the one to identify the Messiah. So let's go to the next slide with in the Gospel of Luke, where we find an explanation now for this idea of Elijah reincarnating. What do we find? We find in the Bible, it says, "Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, 'Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayers have been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will call him John.'" So over here we have a boy who's going to be born. His name is John. "He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord." Now let's go to the next slide. "He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God. And he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the parents to their children. To turn the hearts of the parents to their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." So we have here, guys, that Elijah returns in a new body, in the body of John the Baptist. And that's what we find. We find that John the Baptist indicates, everyone knows that, every Christian knows that, it is John the Baptist who says about Jesus that this is the Lamb of God. Yeah. And how can I baptize you when I'm unworthy to, so it's very clear for the Christians in the Gospels that Jesus is pointed out by John the Baptist, who God says in the New Testament that John the Baptist comes in the soul of Elijah. The soul of Elijah, the spirit of Elijah is inside John. And it's clear.
It's absolutely clear. And in fact, Jesus did not come to change the law and did not come to change this specifically. He didn't mention anything against it. It's a belief system of the Jews at the time. They actually, when he asked, who do the people say I am? Mm-hmm. Some of them said, "Oh, he's so and so," which they mentioned the names of, like Jeremiah, people
Elijah,
who died before.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously the Jewish people at that time, they believed in reincarnation, obviously, and he did not correct that, right? He did not say, "No, that is a false ideology." You don't have any narration that says from Jesus Christ saying reincarnation is not really true. In fact, they were wrong. There is no such a thing as reincarnation. That's what you would expect if he was. If he was to hear something like that, he would at least correct the faith, right?
Yeah, and
at least for his companions, because he wasn't asking strange people; he was asking the companions.
No, but here's the thing, right? It's not only Gabriel here or God here talking to Zechariah, confirming that his son is the Elijah returned. It's actually Jesus Christ himself, the Messiah, that points it out. And this is going to be the last thing we talk about. Then we'll end the show. And we urge you guys to hear and listen and really pay attention, just as Jesus says in this verse. Let's pull up Matthew, guys. It says here in Matthew, "Truly I tell you," now this is the words of Jesus, "Truly I tell you, among those born of women there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist. Yet whoever is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been subjected to violence, and violent people have been raiding it. For all the prophets and the laws prophesied until John. And if you're willing to accept it, he is Elijah who was to come. Whoever has ears, let him hear." So Jesus tells his disciples, tells the people of the congregation,
clearly,
guys, Elijah is an amazing prophet. He was this, he was that, and there's no one And there's no one better than John the Baptist. But hey, okay, no one's better than John the Baptist. But hey, guess what? John the Baptist, he's Elijah that was to come. Whoever has ears, let them hear. And I hope that you guys were paying attention. If you have ears, hear what we are saying. We are saying that reincarnation is the truth. This has been held back from you, from your scholars and your rabbis and your priests. And the Qa'im, the Mahdi of the family Muhammad, has come back to reaffirm faith and reaffirm the truth. As Jesus had said in the Gospel of Thomas, nothing that has been buried will be buried any longer. It will manifest and become true. And this is something that one day we will be talking about next time, inshallah. And we will be continuing to be talking about reincarnation in the next couple of episodes also. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.